Hey guys, it's Sean with Christ Life Art, and let's talk about 2024. Alright guys, so for this year-end video, what I want to do is have a little bit of a real talk about this creative journey and what it's been like. So back in 2019, around the middle of 2019, I had created Christ Life Art as an official business, as a LLC. And then in 2020, I started creating work with a greater focus on trying to share my faith and sharing messages taken from scripture, tying them to my art, and trying to put those out through devotional videos, and trying to just be a greater focus on the ministry of my artwork. And so I pursued that, trying to really embrace the calling that I felt that God had put on my life, and to pursue that however I could. And so rather than waiting for having it all together, I was like, I'm going to go with what I have and start trying to push towards this. And I'll be honest, guys, every year has been hard and has gotten harder. And every year as I would come up to the upcoming year, I kept trying to find like new perspectives or new ways of working, new things that's like, how can I make this easier? How can I make it easier? And so at one point I wrote down at the beginning of a year, I am an artist. I wanted to stop dealing with the doubt and the self-doubt of that my work wasn't good enough to call myself an artist. And so I started like, I'm going to push past that, and I'm really going to claim this for myself, that I am an artist. This is what God has called me to do and who He's called me to be. And so I started pushing towards that mindset. One year it was stop looking back for man's approval. Stop looking back and hoping that someone is back there clapping their hands like, yeah, Sean, you're doing a great job. I was paralyzed by that, and I needed to try to push past that. But I kept thinking, okay, if I can just push past this, man, things are going to get easier. There was a time when I thought, okay, Sean, you got to be more rooted in faith. Just trust what God has said to you, what He's called you to do, and just keep pressing forward and just keep trusting Him. And so then maybe things will get a bit easier if I stop looking at my circumstances all around me. And then this past year, it was looking at methods of time management. And I got these 3 words from Jordan Raynor, which were trust, hustle, and rest. And I was like, okay, I'm going to trust God with the results. I'm going to put in as much work as I can. And I'm going to rest. I'm not going to kill myself pursuing this. I'm not going to forsake other duties and obligations I have as a husband and a father, but I'm going to trust God and rest in Him, but I'm still going to put in the work. And guys, honestly, man, 2024 was another hard year. And it has various things that are tied into that. Something that you don't really know until you've tried to be an artist and a creator, especially sharing your work on social media, is that there's a lot of work that goes into these things. Whether it's filming, getting set up in this little room to film, writing notes and content to be able to follow, photographing everything, editing those photos, creating the social media content to go in different formats out of those photos. How many different crops do you need? Sizings do you need? Writing the content to go with your posts. Making sure all that stuff is edited and prepared. There's so much, and even just like the managing of files. Like my workflow is all utilizing an iPhone, which I'm filming with right now, and I take my photos with, and an iPad, which I write on. I edit my videos there. I edit my photos there. and then trying to file manage between those two is another burden. It's just, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to do it well. And that's another hurdle too. It's like my career background is in graphic design. And so like I've been around branding, and I've seen people who do branding really well, and I've seen people who don't do it well. And I feel like I'm somewhere in between, but it's like, I want my stuff to feel cohesive, and I want it to feel like it's professionally executed. There's this design eye that has been ingrained in me that I can't like unlearn. And so everything that I'm putting out, I want it to have a certain level of execution, and that's a struggle because I'm one person. Normally in my career I've worked with teams, whereas I'm just me. Doing all of this, and so trying to carry all of that is difficult. And then throwing on top of that, over the last 2 years, my wife has been in school, so I've had to step up and engage more with managing our home and our family, which is I'm super thankful that my wife has got to go back to school. So super proud of her, super grateful for her. But that does mean I've had to put some other things aside. And some of that has been, a level of creating. And so, all these different things have compounded and just made for particularly this past year and the year before to be rather difficult. So as I'm looking back over all of this and looking forward, what am I investing for? Like all this effort that I'm trying to put into it and the struggle, like what is it for? Yes, I want to create, whether it's prints that I'm creating or wood turning, or even podcast episodes when I've done that. I want to create things that are going to encourage people in their faith by helping them cultivate a deeper love of God, by helping them see wider views of His glory. And I want them to see that through His Word, His truth, and then also through the testimonies of others, and also to be reminded of where God has worked in their own lives. It's like those 3 different areas that I see this working in. And so, I want to do that. I want my work to be focused on that. So what I'm about to share with you guys is probably the hardest thing for me to be real and honest about. And it's been this struggle in my heart that I do. I create things to want to encourage people as they seek to follow Christ. Yet, whenever I create and it feels like my work has a very limited reach or very limited impact, or maybe is passed over by others, it can be very demotivating for me. And that's a me problem, okay? Let me be clear there. But what it does is it creates a fertile ground for bitterness and jealousy to take root. If I see someone else succeeding and gaining progress in their work, when I see God using them to impact other people's lives, and He's using them in different ways, and it's like, God, why? Why is that happening over there? But it doesn't seem, at least from my perspective, it doesn't seem to be happening over here. And man, that can be a huge, huge struggle. Jealousy, comparison, bitterness can rise up in those moments. And it's been a hard fight, just total transparency, guys. It's been a hard fight to battle against that. And so when I would see someone else succeed or see their reach grow, or I see them gather support and people like champion them and rally them on, and I'm just like, man, I don't know how to look at my work and have a genuine desire that says, I want this to have impact. I want this to reach people. I want this to go somewhere in reality. I don't want to just be up here in this little room creating something for myself. I want to be creating for God, and I want the work to have a purpose in people's lives. I don't know how to balance that desire that I want that, I want to reach for that, but I'm not motivated by either pride or I'm fully content in trusting God with the results. That's just really hard for me. I imagine there's a way that people have figured out how to do that. Like I think of pastors, like, who are faithful and diligent every day, to work and to study, and they feel this burning passion about the message that God's put in their heart to share with their people. But what happens if they show up at that church on Sunday morning and the room is empty? It's like, and they preach to an empty room. And then they keep coming back. They keep coming back. Like I know there's people out there that have learned how to be content in that. Even just now, like thinking about Paul, like he has learned to be content in all circumstances, knowing that Christ can provide the strength that he needs to be content. That his grace is sufficient for every need that he has. And so I know that God is working on me to try to get me there. But man, it's been a hard journey to try to figure it out. And I had a time with a pastor that's in my life just recently, and he asked me this question about some of these things. And he said, Sean, if none of your dreams or none of your vision for what you want to do ever come true, would you keep creating? And man, that was just a really timely question, I think, for me at that moment. It's just, if none of this happens, like, am I still going to do it? Like, do I love creating for God? Do I love creating for God? Yes. Yes. I think I would still keep creating. I think the fact that, I've created this business and that I have patrons who support it. There's a certain, I think, a healthy pressure, but sometimes it does get overwhelming where it's like, I'm not creating enough. I'm not creating enough. Life is getting too hectic and too busy. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough to warrant their support or to warrant having a business. And it feels like, oh, I gotta just do more. I gotta do more. I gotta find space. I gotta find time more. And sometimes that's really exhausting to get stuck in that mindset. So what does all that mean for me, like right now? Right now at the beginning of 2025, what does all that mean? So again, I am coming to this new year with a word or a phrase, if you will, more so, of what I want to approach this new year with. And this impacts various aspects of my life, but I keep coming back to this phrase, embrace the hard. Embrace the hard. So rather than to keep thinking, if I can get this down in my life, things will get easier. I don't think that that's true. It might happen one day, I don't know. But for me right now, I just need to embrace the hard. Like whatever it is that's in front of me that feels challenging and difficult and hard, I just need to step into that. So I'm wanting to start embracing the hard moments when I have to sacrifice time to, sacrifice time from creating so that I could do something, for my family, to be a good leader and husband and father. Or I have to sacrifice time from, being able to create so that way I can be a contributing member of my church to help disciple and invest in others. And so it's like finding that balance. I don't know if that balance exists. It might, and there might be people who have done it well, but I just want to come to this new year saying I'm going to embrace the fact that it's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging and it's going to be hard. But also within that embrace the hard, I think there's also an embracing of Christ. Christ, I know that your grace and your power is sufficient for this year and whatever it's going to look like. And so I embrace the hard by embracing you. So that's just kind of where I'm at right now as I'm coming to this new year. And I want to be honest in my look back. I feel like 2024, just for all honesty, guys, was a failure. Like not 100% failure, but if we're talking, percentages here, it wasn't a winning percentage. So in all honesty, guys, 2024 was not what I wanted it to be. I had hoped that getting into some new time management tactics and coming up with a new schedule, I'd be able to manage my time and my effort better and accomplish more while my wife was finishing school. But it didn't work. But it's not because the tactics were bad, but because the level of engagement that I needed to keep with them, I couldn't provide that with the time that I had available. And so, guys, embracing the hard this year, I'm hoping to just be able to step into that and just trust that God is going to give me what I need with each step. So, am I going to keep creating? Yes. And while I look back at 2024, and maybe in my mind, it is a little bit of a failure, there were some good things that came out of it that I want to share with you guys and just talk a little bit about. So one of the things that took place was I did finish a print that was called Holy Roar towards the beginning of the year. So it was this guy. And man, I mean, this print was revolutionary for me. It was trying out new techniques and new tactics that I absolutely love and were super successful. Being able to create different textures in my work in the lino cuts was really eye-opening to what is possible. And so I'm actually working on a sketch for a piece right now that's going to utilize some more of this, and I'm pretty excited to do that. So I did that piece, and then I also did a version of it with gold ink that it was like a special edition, limited one. So this one has just 10 prints, whereas the black I have up to 50 prints. So that print was a success, something that I'm proud of over 2024. Also, I did several wood turnings. So I won't go into the long story, but I believe that God has a place for wood turning in my life and in my work. And so I did several pieces, and praise God, I was able to sell all of them. So that was a huge blessing. I also sold, I think it was 9 rings last year, which was huge. Because each one of those moments, the selling of a ring, the selling of a bowl, the selling of a print, guys, I can't tell you how critical those moments were. There would be times when we were, making a tuition payment and needing to buy groceries and making a house payment, all this stuff. And I was just like, God, I need you to just show up, or I need to go get a second job, like a legit, steady paying second job. And someone would order a ring, and it would be enough to get us through, the next few weeks. God just kept showing up and meeting that. And it was confirming 2 things. One, that God could use what I do to help provide for us. And then 2, it confirmed what God has called my wife to do. He's like, I'm going to make sure that she has everything she needs to become a licensed respiratory therapist and be able to help and encourage people in the hospital or in clinics, wherever it is. But God has continued to confirm what he has called my wife and I to do. And so, again, it's not going to be easy. And I'm just trying to let go of that completely. That there's ever going to be a point when it's going to feel routine and predictable, and like there's this, this is just what we do, and this is how it flows, and all this. I just don't know if that's ever going to happen. I think it's always going to be, I'm going to have to fight for time to create. I'm going to have to fight for time, for energy and engagement to pour into my family and to those around me. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. And I need to embrace that. So some things looking forward. I have 3 prints in concepting right now. One is going to be a print that is made using a family prayer that I've written for my family. I wrote this several years ago, but it really kind of connects to this idea of embracing the hard. It says, Lord, give us a desire for your will and the grace within it to be still, knowing that in unknowns that be, glory is given when we trust in thee. So I've wanted to do a print with this for a while, and so I have some fun ideas for how I'm going to do it that I think could convey that kind of beauty and chaos kind of feel, and I'm really excited to work on that one. And then I have two other prints that kind of connect to, one of them, connects to an old print that I did called Made Alive. It's kind of like a little bit of a revamping of that one. I did that one before I did any kind of video devotions for my work, and so I wanted to kind of revisit that one and kind of bring in some of these new techniques that I've learned and really kind of push the limit again and come up with a beautiful piece out of that. And then the third one that I have in mind is our family. We have this little phrase that we use because our family verse is out of Matthew 5, that we are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. So in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. And so my kids and I, oftentimes in the mornings, whenever they're leaving for school or I'm leaving for work, we'll tell each other, hey, shine bright. And so I wanted to do this really cool, just more abstract design of like just this bursting light. And I did it a little bit in the background of Holy Roar. But I wanted to kind of push this idea to like the next level and try some things. So yeah, these three prints are kind of like on the front burner right now, concepting. And when it comes to prints and wood turning, like how all that's going to flesh out in Christ Life Art, the way I'm seeing it right now is that I will be turning wood in the spring and summer and creating prints in the fall and winter. So that's kind of the rough approach that I'm taking into 2025. We'll see how it goes. But man, last year I was able to collect a lot of wood. So the way that I'm doing my wood turning is that I'm trying to find wood that people have like discarded or are throwing away and gather that up to really kind of connect to this idea that the wood itself has been rescued to be reshaped into something beautiful. Just like God has rescued us and is reshaping us into something beautiful. So that way when someone buys one of these pieces and sets it in their house, it can be a visual reminder for how God has already saved them and has already shaped them in different ways in their life. So hopefully it's an encouragement to them to remember of how God has saved them and is shaping them. So that's where I'm at, guys. Going to be working on some more prints. Going to be doing some more wood turning this year. Hopefully making some more rings. And man, Lord willing, I don't feel like I can commit back to Made for Glory, the podcast, yet. I'm curious to see how this next year is going to go. You know, my wife is out of school for the most part. We're definitely finding a new normal. She's working now. And so once that all settles, and one of the biggest blessings is that the sales and the work that I do for Christ Life Art, now I can start reinvesting it back into Christ Life Art like I did in the past. Whereas over the past 2 years, it has gone completely towards sustaining our family and getting my wife through school. But now I can start putting it back into Christ Life Art for resources, new tools, and some different things. And so, man, I've come to this phrase that I am cautiously yet realistically optimistic and hopeful about 2025. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. But I'm already telling myself I'm going to embrace the hard. Every morning that I've been getting up so far this year has been saying, okay, I'm going to embrace the hard. I'm going to embrace it. So, and again, I'm embracing it through embracing Christ as my strength. So I'm not trying to say that I'm rising up with my strength and my power, but no, I am stepping forward. I'm stepping forward to embrace the challenge, trusting that He's going to show up and give me what I need. So, man, I just want to say a thank you to you guys who do kind of follow along and see the work that I create. Anybody who has shared things, have commented, sent messages. Man, I think every artist out there, probably the most life-giving thing to them is to know that their work has been seen and been appreciated. And so for those who have taken the time to comment, to try to share it so others will see it, man, I just want to say thank you. Like, those are very life-giving moments to me. And it's like, okay, I want to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. And I just want you guys to know that. And I just want to say thank you to you that have done that. My patrons who have supported me over the last year, and you guys have stuck with me over this last year. And while, like I've said, creating is not what I wanted it to be, for those of you who stuck around, thank you. Thank you for your support and for your belief that Christ Life Art is going to become something, and God can and will use it in the lives of people to encourage them in their faith. So, guys, thank you for hanging out with me a little bit this afternoon. I hope that you're having a good new year. I hope that you feel recharged and re-energized to embrace new challenges in your life that are going to come over the next year. And I pray that that God blesses you and your family over 2025. And one of the things that I say at the end of all my videos is, that there's one God. He's given us one goal, and that's to glorify Him. So, guys, I truly hope that for your next year that we all are saying, I'm going to embrace the hard, and I'm going to glorify God and show that He is strong enough to get me through it. So, thank you guys. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all later.